There is no excuse for these people not to do the job well. There is absolutely no excuse. We have tools, we have resources. This is not a huge kitchen. They have one another. Do the job as it's designed, do it well, or don't do it here. Nothing here is difficult. Same thing with things like dishes, right? You will do the dishes correctly, you will do it the proper way, or you won't do them here.
This whole stack, you gotta be shitting me.
I told you.
Literally. Oil. Yeah, they didn't even take this off.
No, leave it on.
You get paid to wash dishes, you just wash, and that way you don't gotta hear anyone's voice, you know? That's the way I see it. Like, just wash them once, do it right. That way you don't gotta hear me, Jamel, Colleen, Kwame. How many more of those do you need? Everyone to each their own. I enjoy the rush. Kind of like being hired. But, you know, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I enjoy it. Can't complain. Next day go by faster. Before I had the seizure, I knew I was gonna have it, and I had already braced myself for it. The reason I knew, like your body just like lets you know in different ways. Like your body feels like different. Sometimes it can be like a smell, a taste, like your eyesight, or like just like a tingle in your body. I was midway through like typing a customer's phone number to call and text them to let them know that the order was ready. I just held onto the counter as much as I could, and like I knew I was gonna have a seizure because again, it's like a feeling you don't ever forget, even no matter how long it's been.
And I get a call, I get a call from Philip. I'm like, whatever, it could be anything, and Philip calls me, and I'm like, okay, hey, what's going on? And he's like, has Jamil called you yet? And I'm like, no. I'm like, what? I mean, this is just a weird thing already. I'm like, you called me and Jamil called me yet? Okay, no. And he's like, I guess he hasn't, gotten the opportunity to yet. And I'm like, okay, like what's going on here? I'm like, Dwight's having another seizure. I'm like, oh, don't give me that. You could have gave me anything you could get, given it to me hard and straight, but not that. And I was like, oh boy, oh man. I mean, this is like worst case scenario type of thing. Like this was what we like hoped and prayed would never happen.
I'm really glad that Jamil was able to catch him because that was a really like intense moment for the entire team. Like we all were like really hoping that he was okay, and I was asking for him even after, like making sure he made it home that night and he was with his family.
Again, luckily this time he was like coming out of it as he was on his way to the hospital, and he had regained full consciousness by the time he got there. He was even able to send me a text. So I'm like, this is fantastic, but I'm like, man, surely you're not gonna be able to come back. And then, he was off on Thursday, and I already planned, in our internal conversation, I was like, Dwight's not coming back. I didn't think he's coming back for quite a while. If it was, to me, the only reference I have is the last time it happened where he was gone for months. Fast forward to Friday, and I walk in here, and what the frick? This dude is sitting in there. I'm like, what? And I thought I walked into the Twilight Zone. I'm like, I have no idea. He's just been working and doing the thing like nothing had ever happened. I'm like, what are you doing here?
Man, do I still work here or not? I called work.
This is the alternate reality where you do, I guess. Wow, I stepped into the right timeline this morning. Like, how are you even here? And then, of course, Jamil, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that he said he was going to be back here. He came in yesterday to eat. I'm like, you're out of the hospital, right? You gotta understand, right? There's not much of a frame of reference because we didn't have the cameras at that point in time. The last time this guy had a seizure, right, March of 2022, his wife has no idea, no way to contact him. He's not conscious at all. He's just completely just vegetative. I'm gonna run. Like, hey, doesn't that take you to the hospital? I'm gonna put them at the hospital for hours. Like, and he didn't, like, was just getting worse and worse and worse, continuously seizing. Like, so I'm, like, that's the frame of reference that I have, is that this is a bad, horrible thing that just goes on and on and on and on. Fast forward to this time, and he's, now at the point where, okay, seizes, and then he's back on his feet the next day. Like, that was almost unfathomable to me, like, because the last experience was so traumatic, and it was so, like, so much. I mean, good for him. He's bounced back and he seems fine and all right, but man, do I have my eye on it.
I'm glad that he was okay. I'm glad that he pulled through. And I'm glad that he was feeling so much better that he could come back to work. So I'm really happy for him. He's a high-spirited individual, and it doesn't seem like that illness changes who he is. So I can really appreciate him for having the character, even though he carries that with him.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, if anything happens, Phil's gonna be like, Jamil, he's down again. They send me better record.